Welcome to HIListically Speaking. I'm Hilary Russo, certified holistic health coach and health and wellness journalist. This is an empowering place to explore self-awareness, self-love, and transformation through health, healing, and humor. By sharing life-changing experiences, knowledge, and guests with varied expertise, we'll explore who we are, how we got that way, and what it takes to be a happy and healthy grown-up. Mind, body, and spirit. I'm glad you're here. Imagine putting the yay in every day of your life. Let's be honest. Sometimes you just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and boom, you're Grumpelstiltskin for the rest of the day. The real obstacle to positivity is that our brains are hardwired to look for and focus on threats. That's just science. And you can thank your amygdala for that. Good old Amy, always up to no good. But we have the capacity to turn things around. It just takes work. And when you make that choice to make the change, you come out on the other side, and it's a whole new world. My guest this week knows all about this. Meaghan B. Murphy, you've likely seen her high-energy, upbeat personality on Live with Kelly and Ryan, The Today Show, Dr. Oz, and a slew of other TV shows. She's worked for over 25 years in the magazine biz, and when I met her, she was the executive editor of Good Housekeeping magazine. Recently, she became the content director at Women's Day magazine, and with her soon-to-be released book, Your Fully Charged Life, Meaghan is all about keeping it positive. The best kind of charge there is. So, let's put some power behind this podcast, shall we? And welcome Meaghan Murphy to HIListically Speaking. I guess the first thing I want to say is yay. Yay, you're here. This is amazing. I haven't seen you in so long, but just to give our listeners a chance to know how you and I met, it was Daily Burn. I don't even know how many years ago, probably 4 or 5. We're about to embark on our 5th anniversary. And you came into that studio like a spitfire, and I'm like, this girl is on fire. And I guess yay is a great way to describe who you are, Meaghan.
Oh my goodness, it's my favorite word. So yay.
Well, you've been through a lot in your life, and I love that you are so open to sharing. You live this life of positivity, which is really the reason I wanted you to have you on Holistically Speaking, because with the Yay list, your background in media, working with Good Housekeeping and Women's Day, and everything that you do, and all of your television appearances, you always come across with that positive frame of mind. But it's something got you there, and I'd love for you to share with listeners.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I like to think of my duty in the world as to be a beacon of positivity now, but it was hard earned. I am inherently negative. My nickname was Grumpy as a child. I wore a necklace with Grumpy the Dwarf on it. In 5th grade, we wrote and performed a play. And I wrote my character, and the character's name was Neggy, and it was the embodiment of negativity. And I won an award for excellence in acting for that role, but really it wasn't too far from who I actually was in the moment. And then just had some crazy life experiences along the way that helped shape and form me. But I come from a place of, scarily enough, inherent negativity. And I've completely transformed and retrained my brain to be an optimist. But I think the same way I've trained my biceps or trained my abs or my thighs, I trained my brain. So I now am positive, but it took some training.
And you touching on that is so important. And I love that you're sharing that with listeners, because, in my line of work as a holistic health coach, and also working in the field of neuroscience and helping my clients alter their thoughts, moods, and behavior, we have the capacity to do that. And I think sometimes people think that who they are is who they are, where they are, and you're stuck. So the fact that you've gone from this place of negativity to completely the other side of the spectrum to positivity really says something about the power of the brain, and that we have the ability to change the way we think and feel.
100%. Who we are is not who we have to be. And I think the second you realize that, you can begin to make changes. But it's not like I snapped my finger and became positive. I mean, it took years and years of self-reflection and work. and a desire to live differently and a desire to live better. Um, it's clearly been quite a journey.
Mhm. What do you think was the reason for that negative space when you were younger? Was
I
there
mean,
a
I
defining moment?
I will say, I mean, I think there's a little bit of nature and there's a little bit of nurture. I
Mhm.
look at, in my house, I have three kids and I raise my kids to see the good and to have a positive outlook. But I could even say in my youngest son, he is just inherently a little bit more pessimistic, a little bit more negative, a little bit more critical. It's just who he is. I think in some ways that's just who I was. But again, who you are is not who you have to be. So I think that, we have in this world a negativity bias. I mean, we're predisposed to see the bad. It was a survival mechanism back in the
Mhm.
day. I mean, now we're not really running from bears or worried about poisonous snakes, but we still have this inherent negativity bias where, we see the bad and it was self
Mhm.
preservation back in the day. And now it's just a default. And so it does take work to
Mhm.
reprogram.
So, in that transition for you, that transformation, where was that moment where you're like, you know what? Snap out of it. Let me do the work. When was the first moment that you kind of realized, like, this isn't working for me, Meaghan?
And here's the thing. I don't think it was as easy as a moment. Like I love
Mm-hmm.
Oprah's whole aha moment
Mm-hmm.
kind of concept, but I don't think I had that. It wasn't like I woke up one day and was like, "Oh, there's a better way." It was really gradual. And there were certain turning points that I can pinpoint. I mean, been a magazine editor for many, many years, and I can remember being at Cosmopolitan. I was a senior editor, and I was assigned a piece called "The Seven Secrets of Happiness." And as I was writing and reporting that feature, and interviewing positive psychologists, and sort of delving into that realm of positive psychology, it was sort of the first moment where I thought, oh, wait a second. We have a choice. There's an actual choice here. I could choose actions, behaviors, thought patterns that actually make me feel better. Like I don't have to live this way. I don't have to be miserable. I don't have to be such a pessimist. Um, and it was really in writing and reporting that story in my 20s where I started to change and started to realize I had more control than I thought I did. So that was sort of an eye-opening window into this other world, but it was still then gradual from there.
Yeah, and in your early 20s, we're really still young and growing and really trying to understand life on our own, just being recently separated from being under the wing of our parents,
Mhm.
and growing in that point to really define who we are. So that's to find that in your 20s and to kind of see that starting to happen at that age is a great place, especially when you're when you're jumping into such a high profile line of work, which you've been in since that time. But how did you get to that place? Like, was it always, I want to be a journalist?
No, how I like to joke about this a lot. I don't really have a lot of goals. I've never had like big, lofty career goals. I've always sort of chased my passion and always had purpose. So I think if you find purpose and you have passion, then the career, the job, the success kind of finds you. But it all starts with passion and purpose. Um, when I was in high school, I overcame some adversity. Long story short, my best friend and I, when we were 16, had tandem eating disorders. I wound up in the hospital. She wound up dead. Unauthorized Lifetime movie later. I wrote an essay about it, as I was moving through my recovery that, wound up winning me a $10,000 college scholarship. And I was named a Horatio Alger National Scholar. And I wound up being featured on a NBC special that Bob Costas and Don Johnson hosted. Trisha Yearwood performed. It was pretty surreal. We were all flown to Washington D.C., all the scholars from around the country for this big event. And I subsequently got some local press, some news coverage, some newspaper coverage, and YM Magazine at that point approached me and said, "Hey, listen, we'd love to tell your story too. Can we do an article?" And at that time, I was like, I'm 18 or 19. I'm like, well, yeah, sure, but I want to write it. And can I be an intern? And sort of is how my magazine career got started. It wasn't really calculated. It wasn't like I want to be a magazine editor. It was sort of like, oh, they want to do this story. Well, I want to write it. Hey, it might be cool to poke around those offices. Can I be an intern? Um, and I did get that internship. They did publish that story. And from there, I was just sort of a fearless little teenager. Um, and very lucky to be at a teen magazine where I was really the only teen on staff. So I wound up having like a real girl in love advice column and a real girl body positivity column, and got many, many opportunities there because A, I was the complete demographic, and B, I was really fearless. So I had no problem marching into the editor in chief's office and being like, I wrote these cover lines for the October issue. Why don't you see what you think? I mean, I was just didn't know any better. I didn't have any sense of like an intern shouldn't march into the editor in chief's office. I had like no concept. So that turned into contributing editorship. And I was, also studying acting and wound up doing some hosting stuff. I had like a hosting gig on MTV and was doing commercials and some off Broadway. And it just all sort of spiraled because I was chasing passion and purpose. Like I was very passionate about telling stories. I was very passionate about connecting with readers and other teenagers and other women. I felt a real sense of purpose in and sharing that, hey, listen, like exercise isn't punishment, it's therapy, and food is fuel, it's not the enemy. And, you know, I wanted to share my recovery. I wanted to help other people feel good because I was starting to feel better. So I just kept moving in that direction, and things began to happen.
Isn't it interesting how things just flow when you just let go?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Elsa's like my role model. Let it all go.
Mm, yeah, I mean, the way you just explained it just seemed like such a natural flow of energy of a life worth living, and going through the adversity and facing the anorexia and facing the eating disorders and the loss of a friend and just the therapy of writing and seeing where that goes. All of that kind of is in sync and allows the passion and the purpose to work
Yeah,
together.
for
So
sure.
it's such a beautiful journey that you just painted this picture. But with that in mind, and it kind of seems like before there was the Instagram, before there was Facebooks and all of the other social media out there was, in a way, you were that influencer already through the print work, through magazine.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was a different world. I mean, it
Mhm.
it was neat to be able to have that influence on. I always say, like, we had influence on a monthly basis. We got to put a magazine out once a month. The beauty of social media for me is that you get to connect and share instant to instant, moment to moment every day. So that's really a gift. I mean, just this ability to connect all the time versus 12 issues a year. I love social media for that reason.
Yeah, and you're good on it. I mean, you're active and you're present, and that's the other thing. What I've realized in the social media world is that you have to connect. You can't just post your pictures and sit back and wait for the likes. You want to engage with your followers and your viewers and your friends and whatever the
Yeah.
term is for whatever social media platform it is, because those people are connecting with you for a reason. I know I
Well, it's
take that
also,
seriously.
yeah, and I think to me, it's a community. So, I mean,
Hmm.
I also then went through some loss. My father was
Yeah.
very healthy father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and gone in 5 months. And so, I lived that journey on social with like a community of people who had also experienced grief and really supported me. I had started something called Operation Good Grief, which was just an exercise on a daily basis to find something that didn't suck, to take a picture of it and to share it on social media. I mean, it was really, and I did that for 2 years, and it really became incredibly healing. And I think that exercise and that process for me was really when I fully came over to the light side and became fully charged and positive. It was that exercise, and the sharing of that on social media was really powerful for me. I felt like I had a support group. Um,
Mhm.
and I love the community on, I mean, trolls aside, I really do love the community that you can create on a platform like Instagram or Facebook.
It really is a community when you think about it. And you might never meet that person or see that person, but there's something that gravitates one to another when you share an experience. It might not be the same experience, but there's something there that brings people together. And when you can share and connect and support, there's only love.
Yeah, and I say I have
Yeah.
some of my biggest cheerleaders I've never met. I mean, I talk about Francine Katzen in my book. I have never met her, but she's been such a cheerleader for me. And we DM, and I'm been like on her. She had some personal troubles, and just to like work those through with her in our virtual world. It's been fun to have this kind of a cheerleader that I've never met.
Mhm. And okay, so you mentioned Fully Charged. Fully Charged Life is the book that's coming
Yeah.
out, that is your novel. And I want you to share that because it's such a part of who you are.
Sure. So I have been working on it for 3 years. It's now called Your Fully Charged Life, and it's a radically simple approach to having endless energy and filling every day with yay. It's with Penguin Random House, and we'll be revealing the cover in September and start pre-sales. And then February 23rd is the actual release date,
Mm.
which I've been working on it for 3 years, so it feels like insane that it's actually like I'm giving birth to my fourth child and it's finally going to be here and I can't wait. I'm really, really proud of it. It is, it's my life's work in book form. It's really based on a lot of positive psychology. It looks at your life as different charges. So it starts with the positive charge. How do you retrain your brain to more automatically see the good? It talks about the love charge, the significance of your relationships with strangers and also with your family, and how both are equally important. It talks about the work charge, how to find passion and purpose, and how that can fuel career success. It talks about the recharge, when everything falls apart and you're grieving and there's a pandemic and life is scary and hard. How do you pick up the pieces? The extra charge is all the fun stuff, like why you should put flowers in your house on a Monday, or have a favorite color, or over decorate, or, get your nails done if it makes you feel good. Those extras that have the power to transform us, and that they're not frivolous, they're important.
Mhm.
So that is sort of the book in a nutshell. And it's lots and lots of science, lots and lots of research. I had an incredible research partner on the project so that I could get it done while maintaining the magazine career and the podcast and raising three kids. And I'm really proud of it, and I think it's going to help people. The whole premise is sort of like, you're not broken. I'm not going to fix you. This is not your typical self help book where it's like, set a goal and reach your dreams. It's really like, tomorrow could be more awesome, and I bet you that there's a strategy in here or two. They're going to get you there.
Oof, I felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that that was a charge. Oh, and what brought you to the place where you're like, I'm going to write a book?
You know, so I've it's been really fun for me, where people are always sort of like, you have such good energy, you're so energized. Like, I wish I could bottle your energy. And I thought to myself, well, that's why I'm here then. That's my purpose, is to share this energy. But obviously I can't, like, you know, give an IV drip to everybody of my secret juju, but I can write about it, and I can talk about it, and I can share the very real strategies and science backed tips and tricks that I have employed to change me. Like, if I could go from grumpy to happy, um, anybody can. Because I mean, when I say I wore a gold grumpy necklace around I was the kid who was like, why would we go to Disney World? It'll be hot, there'll be lines. I don't want to go. I mean, I was that person. I was like a rain cloud. Um, and I went from like rain cloud to rainbow. I mean, I
Mm,
really feel grateful every day, excited every day, energized, with an attitude of gratitude. And, so I know my purpose is to share some of that and to help people feel some of that. And
yeah.
because I know why I'm here and I'm fueled by that purpose, I feel very satisfied and so compelled. I'm like, I'll just feel like in my guts that I had to get this book out.
Well, then you have to get the book out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to like it. I think especially you're going to like it.
I have no doubt. And for me, I'm on this track of like, I have the book in my mind that I want to write. And, we all have our own journey and what we want to share with the world. So I can imagine that it'll be something I want to pick up and probably get you back on the podcast
Well,
to
and I
talk
would say
about.
too, I would love that. And I think
Yeah.
the thing for anybody is just to say that thing out loud, the thing you
Mhm.
think you might want, the thing you think you might want to do. As soon as you're brave enough to put it into the universe, to say it out loud, then you're capable of taking action steps to make it happen. Like the day I said out loud, I want to write a book. Not only do I want to write a best-selling self-help book that's gonna change lives. Like
Mhm.
that takes some balls to say stuff like that out loud, right? But the second you do, then you
Mhm.
have to do something about it, right? Then you have to sort of take ownership, right? Um, I mean, I can even remember working at Cosmo and saying out loud, I want to be the fitness director of Self Magazine someday. And at that point, I had no business being the fitness director of Self Magazine. I liked exercise and I wrote a buff column for Cosmo, but like I had no business being the fitness director of Self Magazine, but I said it out loud. And the second I said it out loud, I realized there were action steps that I could take to actually realize a dream because clearly it was a dream because I just had the courage to voice it.
Yeah, putting it out there in the universe, declaring it, it is so powerful. And I just had this conversation yesterday that the things we put out there, we really need to be clear on what we're saying
Hmm.
too. You know, it kind
Hmm.
of goes back to the secret and the laws of attraction. You know, we need to really define what is it, what are we asking for,
Yep.
and be really stand in our integrity and stand in our authenticity with what we want because you might get something a little different than what you asked for. So being clear
Hmm.
with your intent is really important. You go back and you mentioned a little bit about fitness, which again is how we met with you coming on as a guest on Daily Burn 365. And has fitness always really been a part of your life?
Sure. I mean, I've always been an athlete. I was like on the T-ball team in kindergarten, and I was a competitive soccer player, played travel soccer and, you know, played basketball and, a varsity softball player freshman year. Like I've always been athletic.
Mhm.
Um, but my relationship with fitness and exercise changed. I mean, there was definitely a point when I was in the throes of an eating disorder where exercise was punishment. It was like,
Mm.
ate it, now negate it by sweating. And that was a very unhealthy mentality. And once that began to change, it was like, okay, it was like sports and competition. And then it was more like punishment. Okay, I'm going to exercise for 5 hours because I just ate a sleeve of Girl Scout cookies, right? Like that's crazy. Um, and as I began to, I mean, I've been healthy and had a very great relationship with my body for probably the past 25 years. And so now fitness for me is medicine. It's how I process my stress. It's how I connect with other people. I have a very big community around fitness. It's something I get to do, not something I have to do. It's something I do for myself that makes me feel good about myself. I mean, I love a good sweat. It's when I have some of my best thoughts. It's when I process some of my, you know, fears and emotions and stresses. I mean, exercise is my happy pill. It's my everything. I don't function without fitness.
And that shows, you know, whenever you're posting on social or you know, seeing you on TV, there is some kind of unbelievable positive energy that comes through you in your photos, in your just everything about you that it looks like you're enjoying the
Yeah.
process.
Well, I mean, think
Mm.
about it. I mean, it's like I don't mean to sound too earnest, but like I'm healthy and strong and able enough to be able to do those things. Like I feel grateful to have a healthy body. I feel grateful to get to take a hit class or to go for a run or to be on a spin bike or to be lifting heavy weights. I feel grateful that I have an able body to do those things. I mean, I watched my mom go through a knee replacement and not have tennis for 2 months, and it was torture, and she was miserable. And she rehabbed pretty quickly because she's a firecracker, and she's back on the happy train because she's got her tennis back. I mean, I feel grateful to get to move. I feel grateful to move my body. I love exercise. I mean, I am joyful when I'm sweating.
Are your kids like that as well? I mean, you mentioned how your mom is, and I'm sure that had an impact on you, but does that trickle down to the three kids?
My kids are very active.
Mm.
Not like organized fitness per se, but they're running, they're riding their bikes, they're jumping on the trampoline. My husband was a college lacrosse player, so they're catching balls in the yard with my husband.
Mhm.
They play soccer and all the sports. and they like movement. And, frankly, it's something in this house where we value movement, and it's a non-negotiable. They know that they have to move their bodies every day. If they don't move their bodies, they have to do something creative, they have to do something physical, and they have to do something that shows gratitude or kindness. I mean, these are
Oh,
like things you got to check off. And then maybe you can play Fortnite and
uh,
check those boxes first.
that comes after.
Yeah.
You mentioned that they have to have gratitude and kindness. Do they journal? Do your kids journal?
It's funny. I'm not a big journaler, and my
Hmm.
kids, it's not something that I've kind of practiced with my kids. For me, the Yay list, and
Yeah.
that's my form. It's sort of, for me, that's like a gratitude journal 2.0. That's sort of how I journal via social media. I mean, posting on the Yay list every day for me is a way of finding something joyful, finding something I'm grateful for, celebrating a moment of joy and appreciating it. And that's how I do that. So it's I don't really journal. And my kids, like, they share their yay for the day or their
Mhm.
highlight, but it's not in a journal. It's not like a
Mhm.
written exercise.
Yeah. Now I love that you brought that up. I was just about to go there. Let us talk about the Yay list.
Yeah.
That is something on your Instagram. That's your social media. You have a separate social media for the Yay list. But how did that come about, and what's the purpose behind that?
So that was really born from Operation Good Grief when my dad
Mm,
was sick and dying, and after he died, that process of finding something positive and hashtagging it Operation Good Grief, and then, like, 2 years deep, as I really began to move through that pain and move through that sadness, I just didn't want to call it Operation Good Grief anymore. There was just a day where I was like, yay, what I'm doing is finding yay. And there's yay today, and there's yay every day, and yay and day rhyme, and I love this. And now it's the yay list, and it just sort of morphed, sort of organically, as I moved through the stages of grief to something I just wanted to call the yay list.
and you're pretty active on that in a different way of promoting it too. I mean, there's sometimes you post pictures and the front of your house will have big balloons that say "Yay!" or
Yeah.
do they, I remember that, and I was like, I just love that you embody it all around you.
I'm
You
like
know,
sitting on my desk here looking at, like, I have a gold yay sign and a gold and I have a yay pinata. I mean, I have an earring that says yay. It is my favorite word. I find it just
yeah,
joyful and energizing, and it's the same forward and backwards, and it rhymes with a lot of things. It's just a great word.
yeah. You grab it and go with it, girl. Right?
Yeah,
Amazing. So you also have a podcast too. You have the Off the Gram podcast,
I do.
and that's a combination of four fabulous women in different areas. So share a little bit more about the Off the Gram.
I was really lucky. So my three co-hosts, so it's Jamie Hess, NYC Fit Fam, who's a fitness. She was a PR person for like 20 years, and kind of changed into a fitness influencer. She's a QVC host. She
Mhm.
represents an activewear line called Zuda. Her mom is Joan London, who was just on our show last week. So she was incredible, and she sort of approached me and said, "Hey, do you want to join this ensemble?" There's also Heidi Christopher, who is a yogi extraordinaire who created CrossFlow X, used to be a soap star, is just an absolutely fabulous, smart mother of three. And then there is NYC Pretty, Christine Hare, who was also a magazine editor, and a fashion expert, and in basically the embodiment of a rainbow.
Mhm.
So they came to me and said, "We're going to do this show called Off the Gram. We're going to look at wellness trends off of Instagram, take a deeper dive, with, all kinds of things." They had originally, Ali Teach was going to be the fourth co-host, and got pulled in a different direction, got a job, and moved. And so they sort of approached me, and it was sort of turnkey because I'm like, okay, great, I just show up. This is awesome. Um,
It is
and
nice
I've
once in a
really
while.
enjoyed doing the show. We've had really incredible guests, everybody from like Dan Harris, who wrote 10% Happier,
Mhm.
to Michelle Promolenko, who did Sugar Free 3, to Lo Bosworth, who has a really great women's wellness line, to my friend, um, you know, Paula Ferris, who just wrote an incredible new book and was on The View and ABC. So we've really just had incredible guests, and it's fun to just take a deeper dive into some of these wellness trends and wellness experts, and the things that are happening on social media in a deeper, bigger way. And we're all in our 40s, so it's kind of nice too, just to hear these voices of sort of seasoned women. It's not just, we're not 20 somethings being like, look at
Mhm.
my acai bowl. It's, like, seasoned women who have had some life.
You
Thank you.
know? Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I gravitate to, and I'm one
Thank
of those in that age range. But we, we look at our peers too, like, what is she doing? What is he doing? Wow, that's amazing. And I think that's where we inspire each other, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a constant thing. And you've worked for Hearst for how long now?
So I started the new job as content director of Women's Day in March, like legit days before quarantine.
Mhm.
But before that, I was at Good Housekeeping as the executive editor for over 6 years. And then prior to that, I was at Condé Nast at Self Magazine for almost 9 years. But prior to that, I was at Hearst as a senior editor at Cosmo. So this is my second tour of duty at Hearst, but this time around, I've been here 6 years. I was around 3 or 4 years prior to that. So it's hard for me to imagine that I've been doing this for almost 25 years. It's sort
Yeah,
of surreal.
yeah, and in this day and age, people do bounce around. So by asking that, it shows we live in a climate where a lot of people do bounce around. Like our parents' age and ages before, they stay with the company from the time they take their first job to the end.
Hmm.
But for us to do that in our our midlife, we don't see it as much, especially with the younger generation. They get the job, they do their thing, they bounce to the next place.
Yeah.
So the commitment of staying with a family, a community rather, these two
Mhm.
communities from both Hearst and Condé Nast, would you say that those communities have helped define you in what you're doing and putting
Sure.
out
I
there
mean,
in the
I
world?
feel very lucky to
Mhm.
be, a magazine editor. I mean, it's a dream gig, and
Yeah.
magazine editors are some of the coolest, smartest, funniest people I know. And I'm in awe of so many of the people I've worked with. I mean, I edited Jessica Knoll, who's a New York Times, 2 times New York Times selling best, author now. And, some of the people that I've had the chance to work with are just kicking butt and taking names. And it's just been fun to see some of these people really rise and do amazing things.
Yeah.
So I feel grateful to be in an industry like, I mean, I always joke, like my husband's in finance. I'm like, you make spreadsheets, I spread joy. Like it's how lucky am I?
You can put the joy on the spreadsheets.
Yeah. Please, no spreadsheets. I'm really
Oh my
bad
gosh, that is so not my world. I couldn't even gravitate to that. Isn't it funny how that's
at it.
opposites do
Yeah.
attract in a lot of
Oh
ways?
goodness. Yes.
Could you imagine being with somebody that was working in the same line of work you were in?
No, I think it's interesting. So, you know, I couldn't date another creative. I think it would be
Mhm.
exhausting. I
That's
love
a
that my
lot.
husband is compliments me in every way, shape, and form, but is completely different in every way, shape, and form. He's more measured and practical. He is not as excitable. He's very, very measured and very, very practical,
Mhm.
and brilliant. Um, but just so different. So different.
But that's the balance.
Oh, yeah, and it
That
took me a
yeah.
while to figure that out. I mean, now that I look back on all my tumultuous, awful boyfriends of, years past, I'm like, "Oh, that's why that would never, ever have worked and why it was so tortured. We were
Mhm.
too similar."
Yeah, you can't they say the opposites attract, then there's the law of attraction, that there's so many different rules out there, but I think honestly, the balance and the complementing of each other, that's holistic. That's holistic right
Yeah,
there is the
for sure.
balance, right? So that's
I
amazing.
call it synergy. I feel like
Oh,
balance
yeah, I like that.
balance scares me a little bit because balance makes the thing about balance is there's no such thing as balance because it
Mhm,
means everything is equal. Like, if say it's work life and family life. Well, they can never actually be equal. There's always moments where something takes precedence. So for me,
mhm.
it's about finding synergy and sort of making it all work like an orchestra so that when things need to be more important, they are. But there's always that synergy. The orchestra keeps going.
That I love. I think I might start using that more
I
now.
think I
I
wrote
love
about
how
it in my book.
yeah.
It's
In
hard
your
to
own book,
know. I'm
your
like, what
thumb,
got cut? What didn't get cut? What's still there? What's not there?
your dog earing your own book.
Well, it's funny. The weird part about writing a book is like I will actually have to look at the final manuscript and kind
Mhm.
of think about what's there and what's not there because it's been a 3-year process. Like, oh, that was
Yeah.
in the proposal, but that's not in the book. That was in the book, but then I had to cut 20,000 words. So that's not in the book anymore. I mean, I'm literally going to have to like read my own book and be like, Okay, yeah, that's still in. That's not in. And I don't even remember like which anecdotes made it. It's a crazy process. It's not like a
Mhm.
quick magazine article where I'm like I can just reference and be like, yeah, it's all still there.
I think you need to start a book club and then have it be the book of the book club and then just see what the reactions are.
I like that. That'll make it easier.
That's not narcissistic or anything.
No, this is my own book club.
This is the book club, and we're only doing one book, and then we have no more book club.
Yeah.
So, you've done a lot of television, and
Mhm.
I want to kind of close out on this one. But what has it been like to go from print to TV? Were you comfortable in that on that platform?
I mean, my degree's in theater. I was an
Hmm.
actress before I was a magazine editor, so it's n it doesn't feel like I mean, I love being on TV because it's immediate and it brings stories and pages to life instantly, and there's no redos, right? It's not like
Hmm.
you can't edit live television. That's one of my favorite things, whereas, like, I can agonize over a cover or a story or a feature for ages before it goes to print. Like, live television, that's done. You didn't like it? Oops, it's done. Can't take it back. Oh, well. I mean, I love that about it. It's just it is what it is,
Hmm.
and that's that.
Then you let it go. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I will
Mhm.
hem and haw over stuff that I have a chance to edit or whatnot. But when that red light is on, when that tally light is on, you're like, all right, it's game time. No
Yep.
going back. You
Yeah,
know.
and I guess I studied acting for a reason. I enjoy an audience. I
Mm,
enjoy the energy and excitement of performing and sharing. I mean, I love to do television. That's a
hmm.
blast.
I hear you. That's part of the fully charged, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, it's super super fun.
All right. So, what I want to do with you, real quick, and
Sure.
then I want to give you a moment to wrap up and share with our listeners some final thoughts. I want to do a rapid fire with you, real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're gonna nail this
I
one,
don't
that
know.
energy, or maybe not. So I'm gonna throw out a word, and just come back to me with the first word that comes to mind.
Sure.
Are you ready?
I guess. I don't know. Now I'm nervous.
I always say that to
I'll
people.
try not to
All right.
curse.
Nah, you'll be fine. You drop an F bomb here and there. We can always edit
Okay.
it out. Or will we? All right, here we go. Adversity,
Triumph,
women,
power,
connection,
love.
community.
Community. Bestfield.
Oh, nice.
That's
Writing.
my town is Westfield,
Yes.
but I call it Bestfield, and I'm the chief spirit officer.
I know. Oh, I love that plug there. You're so good at this. Yes, Bestfield. And I don't live too far from that myself. Writing.
Your fully charged life.
Yay.
Yay. Yay just is yay.
Yeah, okay. And then I
Yay is
wrote,
like just a smiley yay.
I'm just going to end it there. I like it. I had a couple other words, but I like ending on the yay. So, on that note, Megan,
Mhm.
I would love for you to share with our holistically speaking listeners some final thoughts and advice for others that might be interested in, the passion and the purpose and following their dreams and living a life of positivity. Go for it.
So I just wrote something today that just is it's where I'm at today, and it's just be brave enough to be disliked. And I think
Mm,
that it's something I'm sort of coming to terms with, having a very public job and doing things in the public field. But in life in general, I think you have to just stop worrying about the haters and worrying about being disliked, and just be strong enough in your convictions and strong enough in who you are to do the thing, to be bold enough to potentially have a few haters, but to do the thing that scares you bravely, because ultimately all that matters is what you think and that you did it.
love it. You instill that with into your children's life. You let
Yeah.
them know
I mean,
that.
I think if you waste your time worrying about what everybody's going to think, you
Mm,
really just waste your time and you stay stuck.
just jump.
And, and sometimes the more success you have, the more flack you get, right? You're going to
Mhm.
ruffle feathers. You can't make everybody happy. You can only make yourself happy. So I think of it as an act of bravery for taking a stand and doing something with conviction that not everybody might agree with and not everybody might high five you for.
Yeah, especially in this world with social media and everybody is a critic. And, it goes back to that saying, if people don't like it or don't like you, they're not your people,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I
Amazing.
mean, it takes a lot of strength to
Mhm.
kind of grapple with that and accept that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are our own worst critic. We are our own inner bully before anything else,
It's
you
true.
know? So it takes a lot of strength to just walk away from our own thoughts sometimes
Be
as well
brave,
as the
friends. Be
yeah,
brave.
be brave. That's a great one. That should be another rapid fire word. Brave.
Yeah,
You think of something?
brave. Yeah,
Brave.
brave.
Yeah. Brave is yay.
Yeah, brave is yay. I mean,
Right. Great. I love everything you shared. Thank you so much, Megan. And obviously, I just want to let our listeners know that there will be all of this information, links to Megan's website, to her Instagram, to the Yay Light, to the book, to everything that you are embodying. We will add that to the podcast site. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing yourself, your time, your yay, and you.
yay. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for listening to this episode of Holistically Speaking. I'm Hilary Russo. You can find me at hilaryrusso.com. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Hilary Russo. And if you haven't done so already, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And consider connecting with me on a deeper level by joining my Thrive Hive, my gift to you in health, healing, and humor. Holistically Speaking is produced by Alan Seals with music by Lipbone Redding. Find your yay, my friends. And until next time, be safe, be well, and don't forget to laugh.